Hello and good morning. I'm here in Denmark and it's 8 a.m. and I decided it was time to share this. So I want to share about my own awakening experience, and I want to do that because I watched Anita Morjani's sharing the other day. I've listened to it many times, but I was really moved by it, and I remembered how much it means when we share our own awakening experience that are quite extraordinary. Or especially for me, I had a really extraordinary awakening experience, a spontaneous recovery, and I've never heard anything quite like it. So I've shared it a couple of times over the years. It's 7 years ago now, actually, just in this time around the Lion Gate portal, as many of you probably know. Around the 8th of August, we have this very powerful heart activating time where many of us are like put back on track or allowing ourselves to realign with our soul purpose. And that can look very miraculous for many. And it was a powerful time 7 years ago where many people were stepping into these awakening journeys. And now it's even more powerful. So I really predict that many will go into this experience at this time. And when we hear those inspirational stories, we can find our own idea about what is possible for us. So back then, 7 years ago, I had no idea that this was possible. I had never heard of anyone having an experience like me. So I was really not with a lot of hope. So we can rewind to about 8 years ago. I was just finishing up my studies, and I was starting a PhD, which was it was kind of a dream of mine at that time. At that time, I'm a biologist and have been working with the wildlife ecology for many years. So at that time, this was really what I could imagine for myself. It brought me great joy, but it also brought me a lot of stress and anxiety. So 8 years ago, I remember I was hospitalized with going into shock after just a kind of normal doctor's examinations, or kind of normal, but my body was really stressing. It was really not feeling very well, and I easily went into these very stressful reactions, and my body was like shutting down in different parts. So I had a lot of health issues that had actually been there since my early 20s. So they were just getting worse, and I was just getting more and more anxious, though I had been very stable mentally for as long as I can remember. I have a lot of strength in that area. So I had really been relying on that strength, and my body was the one that was like deteriorating. But we were going on fieldwork to Sierra Leone that winter, 7.5 years ago. And I'm just going to take a sip of water. It's a lot of talking. Yeah, you can do the same. Or a cup of tea. There is a lot of information in this, so I can't tell how long this video will be. So, but we were going to Sierra Leone to conduct some field work 7.5 years ago, and I was already very stressed when we were taking off on that trip. And during one of the first weeks, or maybe 3 weeks in the program, we were having a car accident. And in the car accident, I bumped my head. We were driving into a tree that had fell over the road, and we were going back. And in that part of the country, there's no roads, the tarmac road. There's only like dirt roads, and there's no electricity. There's no running water. So it's really a rural area. And though I loved it, I also felt insecure there. And that experience was really overwhelming to me. But I went into like more of a shock. But I just closed completely down. I remembered the experience of like panicking, and then just knowing there's no way that this panic can help you. Just close it down. And I just felt my energy shrinking. Like, it was actually a very surreal experience now that I think back, because I remember that feeling of like having my energy go like this small. And then the time after that, I really pushed on. We continued the field work, and we had the car fixed. It had got a hole in the where you put in the tank, where you put in the gas. So that was really quite messy, that experience. But it's okay now. It's okay. It's just an experience. But after that, I was really pushing hard to come back to work. I really wanted to work. I thought that this was my safe space. If I kept working, I kept being alive. I pushed myself to just sit on these chairs and just keep working on this. And we stayed for Sierra Leone quite a while longer and traveled around. But I remember that this anxiety was there, and I felt that something had happened in my neck and my head, that it had been damaged. So coming back, my body just started deteriorating, and I started to feel more and more tense, more and more anxious. And in June, this was happening in February or January, can't remember. So, but in June, I had to like give up work. I couldn't sit down on a chair anymore. I had so much pain, so I couldn't sit down for more than half a minute before I was in so strong pain. And I was waking up every night. I couldn't sleep because of the pain. And my eyes started to not focus very well. At least one of the eyes was like not really focused or just aligned with the other eye. And I had post-traumatic stress. So my body was in a lot of reaction to that experience and had not processed it at all. It was just still in that anxious place. And what I did in that time was that I used to see chiropractor and went back to her and went back to all these people that I hope could help me with getting myself back together. But the focus was very much to get my body to work, to get my body to do what I wanted it to do, what I thought was the best for it. And it was also with a lot of disappointment around my body, feeling it's not good enough, it's not doing what I want, it's like failing me. So I was very sad and disappointed in that. And in the end, around June, I finally just was like, I cannot continue to work. I have to just stay home and just see and recover. I have to let go. I had this fear that if I was letting go, everything would just fall apart. I would not have a work anymore. I would have to move to the countryside, and my life would be a deroute, and that would be like the end of my happiness, that I would not be able to work and function after that. So, but surrendering into this and just saying, okay, there's nothing more I can do of the forcing or efforting to be on my work. There's simply no way I can be working when I'm feeling like this. I could not see my friends a lot either, because it was just too much. It was too stressful. So they could be there for half an hour and I was just like, okay, I need to go to sleep. It's too much. I had some help from some different practitioners, and that really just allowed me to come back into alignment. So what I felt was, especially this one person who had an experience himself, so he had it like in his energy field, and he was not taking a lot of like responsibility for my healing. He was very much passing it over to me and say, okay, it's your body, and it's your tools and it's your resources in your body. So it's your body that's gonna help you into realigning, in contrary to the other practitioners that were taking over a lot of responsibility of my healing. Like, I can make this work, I can fix you. So that was, and there's nothing wrong with the other, because that had worked for me for like 10 years before that, or however long it was. But I was at another point in my journey, so the old things was not working anymore. And that was really important for me to see. So I had some really weird encounters with those other practitioners, where it was like, okay, this just doesn't work. I get very sad when I'm there. And there was nothing wrong with them. It was really because we were not, as I see it now, we were not meant to work together to help my body to realign to its highest potential and its own well-being. But this guy, he was really, really good at just like handing the ball back to me and just saying, okay, and just he never even touched my body to assist it. He just talked to myself to just come back into my body, just to come back and they're feeling it, even because I had been so out of my body. I had been so afraid to be in it because there wasn't so much pain. And maybe you can relate to that if you're having painful experience now and knowing that, okay, we tend to just move out of our body, but what really helps us is to come back into our body and allow our energy to shift this. It might not go as fast as it did for me, though half a year is quite a long time, but what then happened went really, really swift. So I remember one of the time I went to see him and we had just worked through a trauma. He used the somatic experience techniques for that. He was trained to do other modalities too, but that was what's really helped me into my body and these simple exercises. And my head just started moving and I was like, oh, what is that? At that time, I had so much pain in the neck. So when I went to see him, I was lying down, I couldn't sit. And my head was just moving. And I was like, okay, do you see this? This is odd. What is going on here? And he said, yeah, but that's just myofascial release. So it's releasing the tension it has, and it's just going to continue until the release is done. So I thought he knew everything about this and knew everything about the experience I was just about walking into. But it turned out later he was very surprised, never heard anything like this. So that was quite a lot of fun. And I was like, oh, why didn't you tell me that this would happen? And he was like, okay, I never heard about this. So what happened was, okay, it moved for a while and I went back and it stopped. And already in the evening, I feel, wow, it actually felt like it loosened up. What happened the next morning, I was out with my dog and my head started again, and then even more and more and more. And the thing was, at the same time that my body started moving, I was filled with a peace. I did not feel fear anymore around my body. And I felt like really a certainty that what was working in my body had the highest intelligence of all and was really knowing my body so well. So it didn't cause any anxiety. I remember my mom was quite worried because she was like, when I talked to her, she didn't understand what was going on. And she was like, but don't you take some breaks? And I was like, I cannot take any breaks. It's my body doing this. Because what happened was that it actually continued like this for 2 weeks. Going through my entire body, moving my entire body, my muscles, my joints, everything was moving, releasing all wounds and traumas from my body. So all the way into my intestines, where it was like contracting and releasing, contracting, releasing, moving. My hands started to move and know these points on my body where to touch and where to press and where to release, like these old, I guess it's like myofascial, where it has stiffened the tissue, and where the body was like locked in positions that was not really beneficial for the energy flow in the body. So it was really, really an incredible experience going from concussion, whiplash, post-traumatic stress to being completely calm, and my body just was like having this inner yogi coming out. Because what it turned out to be was that as time went on, more of these movements turned more and more into exercises, actually, or things I've seen in yoga. And when I went to see this practitioner again, he was like, yeah, but I guess that's how yoga was invented. It was just allowing the energy and then having these positions come out of you. And it was not only sitting in lotus, it was like just headstands and things like that I was like, I would not in my wildest dream had imagined that I would ever be able to do that. I had been attending yoga classes a little before, but I always really failed at it. It was hurting my body. I never really felt comfortable in it. And then it was suddenly this inner energy, inner person that came out and just knew this and just knew all these positions, because nothing was really going on in my thoughts or my head at that time that I knew of. My body was just moving, and my body was just moving into these positions. So I often got really surprised what came from my body. But as time went on, I got more and more used to it. And in the beginning, it was like after those 2 weeks, I had like 8 hours a day where my body just wanted to do yoga. And it was not that I had really the old part of my brain active or the old way of thinking anymore. I could still hear it like, are we done soon? But the body didn't really consider this as anything that was like worth listening to. So I just continued, and as time went on, I can say we melted more and more, merged into this oneness inside of me. So I didn't think of the old part and the new part anymore. I didn't think of me as the one who was thinking all the thoughts. What I realized was that this was a part of me that had a lot of anxiety. So it was at that time I felt it was tied to the ego, but not in a bad. It's not ego in a bad way. I don't think about it like that. But it was that anxiety that the ego can sometimes hold on to, about wanting to fit in with the body. Don't want to do anything weird with my body. I want to be normal with my body. I want to do normal things. I want to walk normal. I want to look normal. I want to wear normal clothes. All these things that the ego had put on itself or taken on of beliefs, but my body and my higher being was just like, we don't really care about that. I don't really care about that. I just want to live my highest potential. I just want to be free and live my life the way that really feels good to me. So that was my spontaneous recovery and my awakening experience. And what happened after that was that it just continued being this new part of me. But it was really just a revelation. It was just really setting me free. I had never imagined that anything could happen like that. I had never any experience like that before. I didn't know that that was a potential for me. So why I'm saying that is because so many people are waking up in this time. And even though you are already awakened, these are the new features that comes in for us that we can really turn our life around, but not from a place of resistance, from a place of allowing. And I've set up this new course. You might have seen it. I posted it yesterday. And what we're really doing on that course is just allowing our higher energies to come to us. We have worked a lot on creation on the latter courses, on those I've had. Also the reason that we just finished. But what is our next step is just to allow these. So we know what we really want from a heart point of view, from our heart's desires, but we also want to really experience it and receive it. And what it requires is that we stay open and allow this experience to come to us. What happens is often that we push it away from us, but this is not really possible in this time anymore. And what this can cause is it can cause anxiety in the body. So in the experience I had, it was like all in one. I had all the peace inside at the same time, and that really allowed me to allow it even more. But if you're in those very real experiences right now where you feel it's themes that you play out outside of yourself, though it's really inside, then it can cause a lot of anxiety. Like, am I not there yet? What will happen if this and this? And can I really say yes to it? Because I don't know what's going to happen like a week from now, a year from now. Can I really say yes to this? And we're allowing ourselves to say yes to this in this time. And when we allow ourselves to say yes, we really expand. And that is the idea of it, that we are expanding. We're expanding into higher states of consciousness, and we are creating the new. So not all people are going to resonate with this and are going to create the new. If they're fearful, they're going to hang on to the old, or if they're taking on that role in this life of being like in resistance or reject these new. But many of us are here to create new paradigms, to create a new earth, new world, whatever you're going to call it. It's not going to be like a different place. It's going to be a different state of consciousness that many of us are already experiencing. And it looks so different, and it requires dedication to enter that state of being. And you're not going to lose everything you love when you're in there. You're going to gain even more than you thought possible. So, and it's your own life, it's your own desires. You're not going to have someone else's life in there or do what someone else say just to be right. It's about you being you and allowing your higher wisdom, your higher consciousness. And I also need to say that when we align to our higher being, a higher state of consciousness, we will receive a lot of inspirations and abilities that we didn't know of before. I see that for a lot of people. They didn't know they were having these abilities. They didn't know they were having this path already aligned for them. But when we allow this higher perspective, we really, really receive these inspirations and abilities. And it requires dedication and allowance to really stay open to it, and not dedication in a like fearful, I'm going to push forward, but more like, yes, I want that. I want my heart's desires. It means the world to me. It means everything to me to really be aligned to my highest potential. And not to the old limitation I used to believe in, because we see more and more that these are just stories holding on into a specific reality. And it's okay, but it's a bit boring, isn't it? For some. Some gonna think it's fun still, like, or it feels like too much to go out of these old programs. So okay, so that was all I had to share with you today. A lot of fun. Please comment if you have anything. I would love to hear from you. And also, if you have your own awakening experience, feel free to share it. I would love to see it. Just tag me in it so I can see it, and I will listen and comment. Okay, have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.